for you guys, it's almost noon. It's almost lunchtime, eh?
That's correct. It is.
Yeah.
We're going to be working through lunch. This is a working lunch.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be a rich one. Okay,
Yes, that's it.
Thank you for sending the presentation. I hope the video will work glitch free, but I forwarded it to the IT just in case if we need to back you guys up.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Good morning,
Ziad,
Charles. How are you?
good morning. How are you? Very
Very
good.
good, my friend. How are you?
Excellent.
This is Ziad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. We have the supplies. Yeah. So you reconsidered and you added a slide about lobster or no?
I would love lobster if I could have it all the time, but you know, it has gone up in price quite a bit this past year, I guess, because of COVID and everything. It's almost triple the price that we used to pay, you know, 2 years ago. So it's a luxury even for us here. But I try and get as much shellfish as possible.
I know. It's the huge spike in prices is insane for food. It's been really very, very high.
Even the staples like butter and milk and everything has gone up, way up. And
that's right.
I'm sure the situation in Ottawa and Ontario is not helping it either. So
yeah, it's very, very tough. And here we have our own issues. I'm sure you're following the news and what's going on in downtown.
yes.
It's been a challenge.
Is the bureaus outside of downtown? Is that correct?
Yeah, we are. It's actually the embassy that's in downtown, but we're outside of downtown. We're like 10 minutes away, but we're not in that impacted area. Yeah.
So, good. So you don't have to get through traffic or anything.
No. And most of us live in the suburbs anyway, so we're not close to that area. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we have more participants now.
Excellent.
Okay.
How is the weather over there today?
It's very cold this week. It's like today, I think it's -14, but it feels like -20. Yeah, it's really cold.
We've had a very good winter. We are cold today and yesterday, but over the weekend we had 12 degrees, 12, 13 degrees, you know, so it was like spring. And we're going back up again on Thursday too, again up to 10, 11 degrees. So it's been a very bearable winter for us, and the last few years too as well. It seems to we've seemed to have switched with Vancouver and Ontario with good winters. So I mean we get snow, but you know, it washes away after a couple of days, and it doesn't make the winter feel as long.
Yeah, likewise. This is what's happening in Ottawa as well. Yeah. They forecast, you know, lots of snow, but when it comes, you know, it comes down as a rain, you know, because of the temperature.
Yes.
Anyway.
Dr. Mosa, thank you very, very much for all of your support and help. You know, we've had a couple of files that have been very complex, and you and the team, Ziad and Gada and the rest of the team have done exceptionally, I must say, to help us and support us on all these complex files. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks to you as well. You've been amazing. You know, the cooperation is being there all the time. So thank you, and for all the team at Dalhousie.
Thank you.
So Charles, you have a couple of trainees coming up, arriving soon in Halifax, for residency.
In fact, we have, let me just double check here, but I think we've got about 7 or 8 that are coming so far. And we're working on getting, we have an elective in neurosurgery that just arrived on on Friday. And I took her around and showed her. She was so surprised that she had a big winter jacket. I said, "Why do I have to wear a winter jacket? It's so warm over here." And says, "Just wait."
Yeah, exactly.
And
it will come handy. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to get quite a few. We've got 7 positions still we're working on between now and July. We've already filled 7 or 8 positions right now for this July, but we still have we're still working on those other main residency programs: obstetrics, pediatric emergency medicine, neonatal, perinatal. We're working on neurosurgery. Plastic surgery we're still working on as well. Oh, there is Andrew actually, but he's got Shane's as a name there. So
Yeah. It's okay.
Anderson.
Dr. Warren.
Dr. Warren, good morning. Can you hear us? If you just
Yes, I can now. Great. Thank you. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
We're good. We're good. Thank you. We're just waiting for 10 a.m. to start. Yeah, so it's almost a minute. I will introduce you, and as in the schedule, you will have to start and introduce your team and start your speech.
Sure, sure. Great, thank you. We're having a little bit of a challenge with our presentation, but I hope between us we'll be able to make it work.
Sure, no problem.
No problem.
Andrew, if you need me to open it up on my end, just let me know.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yes, Shane is also prepared to share from his computer.
Okay.
Oh, I see Shane's on. Shane, there are 2 of you today. I know you're, I'm not much of a mirror image of you.
That's teamwork.
Great.
It's 10 a.m. now, and I start welcoming everybody. Good morning, everyone. If you are in Canada, good evening. If you are in Saudi Arabia, and I see the number of participants increasing at the moment. I know there is a medical event at the moment in Abha. So we hope the number exceed the 150. Most of the participants, I think, they prefer to view the recording in YouTube afterwards, because they are engaged with that event. But anyway, special welcome to the PGM leadership and the team at Dalhousie, Dal's Medical School at Dalhousie University. And for those who don't know, Dalhousie University was established in 1818. That's more than 2 centuries ago. And the medical school was established in 1868, which is 150 years ago. And since then, this medical school and the university as a whole have printed their names, not just in Canada but worldwide, with many achievements. And we all know that this medical school is one of the first medical schools in Canada to offer distributed learning for the postgraduate medical education. And we know as well that the Dalhousie clinical faculty were involved in the world's first robotic brain telesurgery. And these are just examples of the few achievements of Dal's medical school. Under the leadership of Dean Anderson and Associate Dean Dr. Warren, this medical school has been a major contributor of care and cutting-edge research, not just in Canada, to the world's health sectors. Dr. Warren, whom I have the pleasure of introducing to you today, serves as the Associate Dean of Postgraduate Medical Education at Dalhousie Medical School. He completed both his MD and residency training at Memorial University and did his pediatric cardiology at Dalhousie. We are very grateful for all the efforts Dr. Warren and his PGM team put into this partnership with our office. They've been looking after all our past and current trainees as well. Currently we have about 40 trainees, and most of them, I think, they are pursuing their training toward the residency degree. I don't want to take much time in this. I hope Dr. Warren allows me to sneak away at 10:30, because I have another meeting. But I'll be here for the next 20 minutes, and my team as well here, Ziad and Ghada, will be with you all the way. I don't want to take much time. I pass the mic on to him to introduce his team and start his speech. Dr. Warren.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I do want to introduce the colleagues that I have joining me today. So Mr. Shane LeBlanc is the Director of Postgraduate Medical Education here at Dalhousie, and kind of keeps the operation running. And Mr. Charles Schwen is our Visa IMG trainee manager, who is certainly instrumental in our visa trainee program. So we do have a little presentation prepared. Shane is going to share screen, and I will do the talking, if that's okay with you. And we'll go through things together.
Currently, it's saying the host is disabled screen sharing. Charles, I think it just put you as the host. Do you have the ability to do that? Currently, it's saying the host is disabled screen sharing. Charles, I think it just put you as the host. Do you have the ability to do that?
In this world of Zoom, we still are.
Yeah, it's waiting.
We're just grabbing one of our colleagues from IT just to figure out why this has been disabled. Just bear with us for 1 minute, please. Thank you.
So, Charles, I think you have the authority to give access. Oh, you?
Here we go.
Did it work? Okay.
Yeah, looks like he's there. Good.
He's muted already.
Charles,
So
you are muted. Charles.
هو دكتور وارن اللي راح يحكي.
Okay.
دكتور وارن اللي راح يحكي.
I think you can see, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, super. Thank you very much, Charles. So hello, everyone. Thanks for meeting with us and for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about Dalhousie University and the residency training opportunities that it may hold for learners from Saudi Arabia. Over the next few minutes, we want, next slide, Charles, please. We wanted to take the opportunity to give you an overview of postgraduate medical education here at Dalhousie, along with some of the opportunities that we have, particularly for visa trainees, the supports that we offer for learners, and just a little bit about Halifax in general as a place to live and learn. Charles, could you go to the next slide, please? So Dalhousie University is the oldest medical school in Canada, and certainly we have lots of PGME programs available to learners here. Next slide, Charles. So for those who don't know, Dalhousie is located on the east coast of Canada and serves the medical needs of Canada's three of Canada's eastern provinces, collectively known as the Maritimes. Newfoundland and Labrador has their own medical school, but Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island, as the Maritimes of Canada, Dalhousie is the medical school that serves all of their needs. As such, we are able to consolidate cases from a lot of different areas, which results in better exposure for learners in our training programs. Next slide, please. So Nova Scotia itself is one of those provinces, and Halifax, you'll see it listed as Halifax Regional Municipality, is where the medical school is physically located. Next slide, please. So this year we have approximately 650 total postgraduate learners. They are dispersed within accredited residency programs, both direct entry programs and subspecialty programs. And our direct entry programs include programs in family medicine and in Royal College disciplines. We have an accredited diploma program in interventional cardiology and have 3 diploma trainees in that. And then we also have various fellowship programs, some of which are accredited by various organizations, and some of which are primarily clinical fellowships that are registered at the university. In total this year at Dalhousie, we have 58 visa trainees from various countries, including Saudi Arabia. Those trainees constitute, I think, the 3rd largest group of visa trainees in Canada, at a school in Canada. Next. With respect to our programs, we have 56 accredited residency training programs, including 54 Royal College programs and 2 programs in family medicine, core family medicine, and enhanced skills. Slide. Our facilities in Halifax are mainly 3. We have the Victoria General Hospital and the Halifax Infirmary, which are the primary sites for adult care, and the IWK Health Center, which is our primary pediatric and women's health center. Next. All right, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about opportunities for learning at Dalhousie and some of the supports that we have for learning. Certainly from hospital practices in our urban health facilities to community-based practices throughout the Maritimes, learners have lots of access to a diverse patient population and some of the finest medical educators in Canada. Next slide, please. So one of the things that I want to highlight for you about Dalhousie is the relatively small size of the learning environments that we have. So in other words, the high teacher to learner ratio. Most of our formal teaching and learning opportunities happen in small group environments, which is useful for facilitating discussion and allows more opportunity for participation. Surgical residents in our programs commonly find that their exposure to learning opportunities is greater than they have seen at other institutions in Canada. Next slide, please. Our clinical learning occurs in multidisciplinary teams. Those teams work together in a collegial environment to provide the best care to patients and to families. Our clinical learning occurs in multidisciplinary teams. Those teams work together. We have developed, sorry, next slide, Charles. Yeah, we have developed innovative curricula that we deliver in innovative ways to help our students and residents acquire the required competencies for safe, competent, and confident practice. Next slide. Oh, that's good. Our simulation facilities are second to none. So we have the Center for Health Education building, it's known as the CHEB. It's a state-of-the-art building that supports simulated patient-based learning in an interprofessional environment. This building is used by residents for sessions including communication skills practice that is done across the whole of our postgraduate training programs, as well as carrying out enhanced learning plans related to potential skill deficits. We separately have a surgical skills lab, which is open 24 hours a day for residents to practice specific skills. And there are new simulation centers at both the Victoria General and the IWK, as well as the QE2, both of which are used for interprofessional simulation events, rather, for residents, nursing staff, and students from multiple other disciplines. The QE2 emergency department has a sim bay, which is particularly useful for emergency simulations. So both the simulation program and our surgical skills center ensure that there are lots of opportunities for multidisciplinary hands-on learning, something that we think is very important to ensure to ensure competency at the end of training. So the launch of Competence by Design, which is the Royal College's version of competency-based medical education, is now in full swing across the country, including at Dalhousie. In competency-based medical education, learners are assessed based on their ability to independently perform procedures and practices that are required in order to be a functional specialist in the discipline. Visa trainees participate fully in the same curriculum as Canadian trainees and are eligible for the same credential at the end. So what are the opportunities for visa trainees at Dalhousie? Well, really, you have the potential to study in any of our Royal College specialty or subspecialty programs, first of all. If you're successful in completing the curriculum and the assessments, then you would earn a fellowship of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada at the end. If you're in an accredited subspecialty program, then you become a diplomat of the Royal College or would be eligible for the subspecialty certificate for the certifying body for that particular discipline. As you may know, the Royal College doesn't offer certification in every discipline. Okay, so how does the process work? It's a competitive entry process. You have to apply by August of the year before you want to enter. So if you were looking to enter in 2023, then you would need to apply by August of this year. All residents at Dalhousie need to have passed the Medical Council of Canada Part 1 exam, which, as you may know, is now the only exam offered by the Medical Council of Canada, at least for the moment, other than the NAC OSCE. There is a process of assessment for applicants. Applications are reviewed by the Dalhousie Program Committee in accordance with accreditation standards. And then the top candidates are invited to interview. These days, we're doing interviews virtually, both in respect of the learners' time and expense and the environment, looking to decrease our carbon footprint. Electives at Dalhousie are beneficial, but they're not essential for all programs. Some programs define electives as a must-do, and we would let you know that up front. Okay, so what about supports for learners once they're here? We're very happy that we have secured a lot of supports for resident learners at Dalhousie because residency can be challenging. And so through the various support processes, we are able to make sure that those challenges can be met. Next slide. So first of all, with respect to learner wellness, there are lots of program-based activities that we provide. Sometimes they're leisure activities like axe throwing, which is apparently a popular one. When we looked for pictures to show at this presentation, we got 8 pictures from resident groups that did axe throwing. But they're also more socially active and perhaps relevant activities like diagnostic radiology's Rad Girls, which is an outreach to engage young girls in the community in science. Our programs also provide lots of opportunities for learners to have fun get-togethers outside the confines of their usual work environments. Next slide, please. So on a university level in 2017, we opened the Resident Affairs Office. Currently, this is led by Assistant Dean Dr. Carolyn Thompson, with New Brunswick support by the Assistant Dean of Learner Affairs, Dr. Lisa Sutherland. The offices provide support for residents regardless of their needs. They may be personal issues, they may need to be connected with a family doctor, they may need counseling about one thing or another. The Resident Affairs Office is independent from the postgraduate medical education department, so that things that could potentially, so that learners can feel safe discussing their challenges without worrying whether they'll affect their academic outcomes. We have administrative personnel, so our administrative personnel are extremely important to the success of our programs. Visa trainees have one-stop shopping with a single office responsible for all aspects of our residents' training. Next slide there, Charles, please. I'll let Charles talk about what he does.
Thank you, Andrew. And once again, thank you, Dr. Mossad and Ziad and Gada, for allowing us to be able to talk. My name is Charles Schwen, and I am the Visa and International Medical Graduates Programs Manager. I've been with postgraduate medical education here at Dalhousie University for 13 years. And over those 13 years, I've had a lot of Saudi applicants and residents and fellows come through my office with many, many questions that I am absolutely a pleasure to be able to answer for you today. The history, as Dr. Warren mentioned, goes back quite a while for our medical school, 1888, but the Saudi-Dalhousie relationship begins in 1984, so quite a long time, almost 40 years. And one of your prominent pediatric surgeons, Dr. Abdullah Arabiya, who was a former Minister of Health at Saudi Arabia, he patterned the Canadian, he patterned the Saudi medical system after the Canadian medical system, which is why we have so many of the Saudi residents and fellows come here and train in Canada, and the compatibility of training is of ease when you go back to Saudi. Of course, it is our priority, as Dr. Warren said, to assure that once you are accepted at Dalhousie University, that from the moment that you are accepted to the first day that you walk to the hospital floor, this is a one-stop shop. We will make sure that you are as prepared as any other Canadian doctor to go into our training sessions. Our file begins and ends in our office, and so that way we do not have to worry about many, many different organizations and administrative delays in your paperwork, that we know exactly where you are from beginning to end before you go to training. The original process for coming into Dalhousie University when I first started this role was 8 to 10 months. I have now, through technology and through different mechanisms, have cut it down to about 12 to 14 weeks. And so it is my huge, and our office's huge priority to ensure that we try and get as efficient as possible your paperwork. As you have a lot of paperwork back at home in Saudi, there is also a lot of paperwork here in Canada, and we assure you that once you are accepted, that we make sure that all of your Canadian paperwork is followed and through. We look at all of the macro situations and circumstances and challenges and questions that you have. but also to the micro ones. And we want your experience at Dalhousie University to be fruitful, as well as your spouse and your family. If you have a spouse and family to come with you, to have as fruitful of an experience when you are here in Halifax and your Canada, because it is a significant portion of not only your life, but also your family's life in their developmental growth. It is a large undertaking from family versus training, and we want you to have a life outside of the hospital. We try here in Nova Scotia to work to live and not live to work, and we ensure that we are connecting your spouses to other families, as well as your children, to ensure that they get the proper education that they need in their developmental years. We have a lot of contacts over the years with places, including the Saudi High Commission, as well as all the VAC centers, including Al-Khabar, Jeddah, and Riyadh for your immigration paperwork. You have an extremely competent team in your senior legal counsel at the Saudi Arabian Culture Bureau. Mr. Brian Mackesy and Rana Basbous are two fantastic individuals that will ensure that your legal aspects of your paperwork are efficiently handled. And from what Dr. Warren had said, that we're coming here to Dalhousie, we are one of the smaller institutions across Canada, but that also entails giving some independence of training too as well, because we are tri-provincial with New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. You will be able to get unique cases that not normally are handled in urban centers in other parts of Canada. And so you'll be able to have a unique training to be able to specialize into your particular specialty. Also, we have a very safe environment for family, a lot of amenities. I can go through a number of different situations for your family and for your extracurricular activities, including your dining, your shopping, your accommodations. All of that will be taken care of my office. If you have any questions, my contact information is there. I'm going to throw it back to Andrew Warren. Thank you.
Charles, I think the next slides are for you to go over the application process.
I'm sorry, this is the addition. So the application process, we get right down to brass tacks here. The application process begins with the dossier that you are to upload into the medical application system at the Saudi Arabian Cultural Bureau. As you can see here, this is the front page where you log in with your file number and upload your application. The list comes to us in our office, and we take the list from the Saudi Arabian Cultural Bureau with your name and your email. And then we send that particular link, a specialized link email to you, which is right here on the bottom, that your application has been processed. And once the link is done with your email and your unique password, you can get into our visa application system. You will enter in your username and password on the left, and then you will be brought to the page on the right, which will have a drop-down menu as to what programs will be available for you. The residency programs are rather strict as far as what we have to offer. For fellowships, we will have a section on the drop-down menu for you to add in what specific fellowship that you want. Now, when I say fellowship, these are clinical fellowships that are PGY 6, 7, and 8. They are non-Royal College accredited fellowships that are beyond your residency and subspecialty training. And then there is a section, if you see down below in the midsection here, of MCCEE and QE1 examination. For those of you who are core training and direct entry, PGY1s, that is mandatory as far as your application in order for you to acquire a postgraduate training license with the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Nova Scotia. And for those of you who are doing non-Royal College accredited fellowships, there is no need for the QE1 or the EE, as you are under a defined license. Once all of your documents are uploaded for us in our system, which we ask you to do once again, we ask you to pay for your visa application fee, which is $125. You'll be brought to this payment page with your visa application name and as well as your email address and your credit card information. And then once that is done, we take your application and review it and then send it to the programs. And then your programs will either for usually medicine and pediatrics and radiology, they would be a Zoom interview. And for surgicals, generally speaking, it's not mandatory, but it is often asked that you come for a 1-month elective here so that the surgical programs can evaluate you under a Canadian clinical setting. We would like to see you in the operating table and your skill set in order to be able to determine and review on what type of candidate that you can be for the potential program. Halifax is a place to live and learn. There's easy commuting and it's a friendly atmosphere and you can do so much more than work. Andrew, should I pass that back to you or do you want me to take care? Okay. By the numbers, then, the population of Halifax is, as I said, is a small center. The city of Halifax is actually under 500,000 people, although it is growing in the last couple of years with our real estate boom here in this city. We're about 429,000 people. And in the entire province of Nova Scotia, it is under 1 million. That is less than one third of the population of Toronto. So that just gives you just an idea of the people per capita that are in this province. There's a lot more space. There's a lot more room for people to be able to go out, a lot more wilderness and outdoors. And the commute time is significantly less. Most of the residents and fellows live within a 10-minute walk from the hospital. That is a walk, not a drive. A 10-minute drive is actually quite a lengthy drive for a commute in Halifax. Everything is close to each other, which means then that after you have finished your day at the hospital, it doesn't take long to get home and be with your family or your friends. And that is a very, very important part of your lifestyle here in Halifax. Arabic is the second most spoken language here in Halifax. A lot of people do not know that. We have quite a huge Arabic community, including the district or suburb of Bedford, which was developed by a gentleman and a group called Cresco, which has a numerous amount of stores for your spices, your Vimto during Ramadan, your mosques, and all of your amenities. We have a huge and large Arabic-speaking population. We have 7 mosques in the downtown core area with large centers and various multi-faith centers. So, and that is the shot of the mosque, the Ahmed Masjid Mosque, which is located in the center part of Halifax, which many of our residents and fellows do go to. There are a number of smaller mosques and centers as well. As I mentioned to you, we look at the macro, we also look at the micro, and that is right down to, where is your wife going to go to get her hair done? Are there any Muslim or Muslim hairdressers? And so we will be able to offer you those type of services of where to go. And also the macro, where do you go to get your social insurance number or a car or things that are a part of life. We will look at everything and all those specific aspects of your life to ensure that your training is as smooth and as fruitful in Dalhousie University. We have a short video that we made a few years ago, and I hope that the volume does come up, but I'm not sure if that is coming up or not. We have a short video that we made. Let me just see here. And I hope that there we go. I hope all of you can hear. There we go. I hope all of you can hear.
I don't think the sound is coming through.
There's no sound, Charles. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. I think it might be time to get, because I turned on my sound here. Let me just see if I can, here. I think this is it. I think it might be time to get, because I turned on my sound here. Let me just see if I can, here. Did the sound come on? No.
It's okay.
Did the sound come on?
There is no sound there, Charles.
Okay.
So we can perhaps make the video available a bit later if
that's
Yeah,
fine.
for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Okay. We can share it on our website after the presentation as well. No problem.
Our apologies.
No problem. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you.
Technology.
We can share it on our Yeah, exactly. It's okay. Presentation as well. No problem.
Our apologies.
So I noticed there are some questions that are coming through on the chat. What would you like us to do with respect to those? Some of them we can answer, and some of them we have answered, and others we may not have the answer, but we may need to look into. Some of them we can.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Warren and Charles. This is very, very useful, and it's a beautiful summary of the menu of options and support that our prospective trainees would have the privilege to enjoy while joining programs at Dalhousie University. For the Q&A part, we're receiving questions through the chat box and the Q&A, as well as some live questions that, if you don't mind, maybe we can take some of those as well. Maybe skim through the questions, whichever question that you see relevant to Dalhousie, and you would be able to answer that. We'll be very grateful if you can take that up. The questions that are relevant to the Saudi Bureau, I took note of those. I'll be very happy to very quickly answer those and cover them, and then we'll take any other questions that might come up. So please go ahead.
I have clinical fellowships available, or what programs do you have? We will have them listed in that drop-down menu, as I mentioned to you. They are a large group of programs, and oftentimes they're so specific that we may not know our office because it has never had a fellowship or a visa trainee in there. So we do our best in our visa IMG unit to be able to contact the program, or the parent program that is, and find out whether or not a supervisor will be able to have somebody come in and train for them for a year or two. The elective is for surgical specialties. Yes, we do shortlist them. We shortlist the applicants after, and then we ask them for an elective. So the elective is part of the interview process. And so after they have been shortlisted, we do ask them to come in and spend a month's long training. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what program it is, to be able to evaluate you under the Canadian clinical setting.
Charles, just to jump in here, if you don't mind, just clarify the visa requirements and the time frame for that, for the elective, please.
The visa requirements are that you need a temporary resident visa. If you have a pre-existing visitor visa, it is asked that before you enter Canada, that you have a medical examination by a panel physician under the Canadian Immigration Office, as well as a criminal record check. But as far as there is no immigration process if you already have a temporary resident visa. If you do have a temporary resident visa, I mentioned those 3 locations, Al Khabar, Jeddah, and Riyadh, as far as those 3 VAC centers, and also Rana Bazbus and Mr. Brian Mackesy in the Senior Counsel Office can also be able to help you expedite those particular applications for that.
Yeah, and just a quick disclaimer, all arrangements related to those short-term training opportunities like electives are done directly between the PGME office and the shortlisted candidates, because the Bureau only facilitates the longer-term training opportunities like residency and fellowships.
That is correct. Thank you very much, Gada, for clarifying that. You are solely directing all sort of inquiries and administrative things directly with our office for the elective. And it is then that we determine whether or not you are eligible for a permanent position, for a potential position here in one of our residency or fellowship positions.
Perfect.
I'm going to jump in a little bit. I want to go back to the top of the list there. There are lots of questions coming in. So positions for plastic surgery this year, I think we do have potential position, but it depends on the applicants. So there is not always a position chosen. It really depends on the program. That's a program-based decision. It is possible to take electives here at Dal, as Charles has talked about, though often electives are invited, particularly if somebody has been shortlisted by something else, you know, in some other way. So that's particularly true for surgical programs. There was a question about the application process for the fellowship, and I appreciate the feedback about that. That's confusing. As Charles has explained, we send the applications to the fellowship directors, but people should at least know if they're not selected. So I appreciate the feedback on that, and we'll work on our continuous quality improvement processes to try and remedy that problem.
And to add to that, if you allow me, Dr. Warren, we always encourage the fellowship applicants in particular to reach out to the program directors and follow up on their applications. After the Saudi Bureau and the PGME office do our parts in exchanging the application, passing it on to the programs. So for the fellows, we strongly encourage them to reach out to the programs and ask for updates on their applications as well.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. That will be where the response comes from, because after PGME passes them on, it's always the programs that decide. But if people are hearing nothing, then that is, I agree, that's challenging. Charles, I don't know if you're still sharing screen or slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Yes, I am.
No problem.
I'll take that off. There is a mention regarding the English examinations. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to stop sharing there. As far as the English tests that are concerned, what it is that we require the IELTS score of 7 in each category. Now, if you have been trained in Saudi Arabia in a university that taught English as their main language of training, there are exemptions that can be made from the IELTS exam, and that is up to the discretion of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Nova Scotia when getting either a postgraduate training license or a defined license. And so that is what the policy currently is right now.
If I could just elaborate a little on that. Oh, Andrew, by all means, looked like you were going to say something. Oh, so yeah, you'd need an attestation that you both studied and did patient care in English. If you are already practicing in Canada, doing postgraduate training, you won't need to retake that test as well.
Perfect. I see many questions coming in from different participants today asking for specific programs if they are available. And I would like to just take the burden off the team at Dalhousie. We are putting together a list of available programs that will be coming in from all the postgraduate offices across Canada. This will be made available on our website, so please keep an eye on that, hopefully at the end of March, beginning of April. So this will be your list as a point of reference with regards to which residency, subspecialty, and fellowship programs that will be available to apply for 2023. So I apologize for not answering each of those questions specifically, because we are working on compiling one list for all the medical schools there.
And again, if I can add too as well, unlike other schools that are faculty of medicine and faculty of dentistry are actually two separate faculties within our university. So we are not combined like some universities. So if you are looking for dental surgical residency programs, then you would go to the Faculty of Dentistry of Dalhousie University.
Yes, thank you so much, Charles. There was a question again about the elective. If the elective for the shortlisted, the word shortlisted here is a little bit misleading. Shortlisted here, it doesn't mean that this is a candidate that's offered the position. They are shortlisted to be considered for selection. And the elective definitely will take place before that process is finalized.
The process is actually taken after the elective process is actually after they've been after we've shortlisted the candidates. So if you are selected to come in for an elective, more than like and the candidate is not selected for an elective, then more often than not, we generally send a note out to tell them that thank you, the first stage of the process has been done, and that the second stage of the process of the elective is taken place.
Okay, I see another question about the somebody missing part of the presentation, and they're asking if this is recorded. Yes, it's recorded, and it will be available on the website of the Bureau, as well as the YouTube channel as well.
Charles, in your presentation, you're talking about the application process, and you said that it starts with your office. I mean, after we submit the applications to you, it ends at your office. So could you please elaborate on the services that your office provides to process the applications until the trainees are ready to start the training?
Sure, I can reiterate that, is that in August, most of the core training programs, the residency programs, there's a deadline because of the fact that the offer dates, they share offer dates with the rest of the country in the fall. So our job is to be able to go through, and it's a large list that we do get from the Saudi Arabian Cultural Bureau, some over 1,000 a year. And I do have to say that you're not the only country. However, you are quite the largest of the countries to get applications. And there is just myself and one other staff member here to go through all of the applications to be able to process and vet them. Once they do come in, our job is to be able to communicate as best we can to all of the available programs that are seeking out visa trainees. However, as you all may know, that we cannot occupy a position in a residency program until after all the Canadian positions have been considered. And oftentimes there are delays in that because of the fact that of timing and deadlines of some programs may not know. Some programs are definite that every year they do have capacity and that we can actually be able to handle the systems and an extra position for a visa trainee in the fall. But it can also go right to the following year in the spring that we're still considering. So if you have not received any response because of the fact that we've closed that channel down, it's because we're still considering and seeing if the program actually is available for getting a visa trainee. Once we administer and we coordinate the interview process or the elective, and then what happens is once the offer is being made, the program contacts our unit, and we then my unit then sends an email out to Ziad and Gada and Hassan and the team for a letter of offer and a copy to the potential applicant. It is then that the applicant can either say yes or no to the offer. If and when they do say yes, then the process begins of the paperwork, and we wait for the financial guarantee from the Saudi Arabian Cultural Bureau. Your home sponsor's sponsorship letter does not count because of the agreement between Dalhousie University and the Saudi Arabian Cultural Bureau. So until that letter comes from the Saudi Arabian Cultural Bureau, we cannot proceed with your file. Once we proceed with your file, it is then that we send your contract and your work permit application and all of the paperwork that is needed to register you and admit you into Dalhousie University. For those of you who are residents, we ask you to come in at least 4 weeks before you start so that you can get settled, do all of the paperwork that you that is needed and necessary for being here in Canada, as well as moving in and getting all of your particulars. And we also have an orientation as well that is quite intensive before you start your training. And then you begin your training for most of you on July 1st. So that is how the process works.
Thank
Have
you.
I missed it?
Thank you, Charles. No, very good. I just want to highlight that, as you can see, it's a lengthy process and it takes some time. It goes through different stages from one place into another. That's why we highly encourage all the applicants, whether in Saudi Arabia or here in Canada, to submit their applications as soon as our portal is open. And hopefully we are scheduled to launch our new cycle mass application portal by mid-March, so next month. Please get all your documents, your papers ready and submit your applications as soon as possible so that you allow us some time to process the papers and send them to Dalhousie University, and then you give them also time to review your papers and submit the applications to the relevant programs. And also, one more important thing, communication. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of communicating with us at the Saudi Cultural Bureau, the admissions team, or Dalhousie University in between, so that we all are on the same page and we can help you when you need any assistance meanwhile.
Communication is absolutely the essential, and to follow Ziad's comments, we understand that you would like to deal with all of your challenges and problems to yourself, and I've known this from past experience. But let me assure you that because we've had hundreds, if not thousands of applicants have come through Dalhousie University, there has not been a situation that we cannot handle. And so to be upfront with us on all of the challenges that you might have, we may even have the solutions for you. So please communicate with both the Saudi Bureau and our office if you have any challenges, and we may be able to rectify that situation very efficiently without having you go through all the suffering of solving the problem yourself.
Yeah, and just to give an example on what kind of situations or challenges that you might have at the different phases of the process, whether it's earlier on in the process, you say, for example, you have secured an initial offer from the program, but your paperwork is not done in Saudi Arabia, so you cannot technically apply with us on our portal. You still need to reach out to us and give us this heads up through email that this has been going on, this prior communication with the program in Dalhousie. Just keep us in the loop and we will give you the advice on what to do, what are the requirements. We'll also alert the PGME office at Dalhousie that this is the case, that this program has extended an initial offer to this particular candidate. Another example would be later on, if you are offered a position and for whatever reason there is delays in your work permit processing, in the issuing of your final degree or the final funding piece, that won't allow you to come to Canada in time, we need to know ahead of time, and we need to also notify our partners in the PGME office. And we'll always, like Charles said, we will figure things out and we'll work around that issue for you, because our goal, our common goal actually is to facilitate the process for you and make sure that all parties are informed throughout the process. So again, communication is key to maintain this process to be smooth and efficient. And like I said, our goal is to help you, start your training on time and get the best out of it. Thank you.
One more thing to also add to Gada is that in the Canadian sense of paperwork and everything, whether it's your license, whether it is your malpractice insurance or any of your paperwork, it is better to have an early incomplete application than a late complete application because of the fact that files can be set up in whatever organization that there is for the licensing or for malpractice early, even if you haven't filled out all of the necessary information. Then you can always call that particular organization and update your information. But do not leave everything to the last minute, because it will cause a lot of delays in the processing, because they have to start your application from the beginning rather than just add to whatever you have.
Yeah, another very important point, we have come across few issues recently with trainees arriving in Canada and not notifying the Bureau or the PGME office of their arrival. They just come here and they head to the hospital and they start their training. It is important for us in the first couple of days once you arrive in Canada, whether it's in Halifax or Montreal or Toronto or Vancouver, you need to notify us immediately by email that you have safely arrived in Canada. And then we need to notify, or you need to notify the PGME office as well, because there is some essential paperwork to be done at our end that will keep the flow going with the university, with Dalhousie University, in terms of making sure that you have the final funding approval. You can open a sponsored file on the Saphir system here. Your monthly payment or the monthly allowance payments will start to kick in into your bank account, and we will be authorized to make the payments for your tuition to the university. So it is very important, I would say, within the first week or the first couple of days of your arrival that we are notified of your arrival here. So that's something to keep in mind for everybody, residents and fellows. Yeah.
And that importance is that enrollment package that that comes in, so that you ensure that you upload all your documents to Saphir, that you have that decree that you have signed and your banking information, which I will help administer for you, so that you can get your living allowance and ensure that your payroll is done. Because after all, what it comes down to is ensuring that you are being paid for your training as well once you arrive.
That's right. Thank you.
I just want to add, I feel badly that we're not going to be able to answer all of the questions. As Jada had said, I'm not going to try to answer the is this or that available question. That'll be on the website in due course once we get everything together. So stay tuned. But in terms of the requirements, I do want to try and address some of those questions. So the question about observerships, we do not offer observerships, and I would suggest to you don't waste your time, because no Canadian programs look at observerships as valuable training because you don't have clinical responsibility. So they've been taken off the Canadian applications. They're not useful for Canadian trainees, and they won't be useful to you. The question about testing, if you want to be in a residency, whether that's a core residency or a subspecialty residency, you must do and pass the Medical Council of Canada qualifying examination, MCC QE1, it used to be called, okay? The EE, as you know, is not offered anymore. If you've done that before, now a long time before, then there may be other issues that would be challenging for you to get into a residency program if that's the only exam you have. But if you want a residency, then you need to do and pass that. And then the IELTS for people in a residency, you really do need the 7s ideally. As Charles has said, there are exceptions that can be made. No other tests. I saw a question about the oral English test or whatever, OET. That is not an acceptable alternative. Just the provincial
IELTS. Yeah.
So you have to do the IELTS. There's no alternative to that at the moment at the college level, really. So you have to do the.
There was a question, Dr. Warren, in terms of the time, the cutoff time for the results, the scores of the QE Part 1. These should be submitted along with the application documents before the deadline of the university, and this is the rule across the board for all the medical schools.
That's right, and you know, in truth, if you are accepted and your score, so you have to have taken really the MCC QE1. You can't start a residency until you've passed. But if you have taken it and then you're going to take it again sometime before the start date, but after your acceptance date, don't worry. That goes to the point made before that there's really not any problem that we can't work around. That said, you cannot start residency training, or well, you can't continue anyways in residency training if you have not passed the MCC QE1. All right.
And a quick disclaimer there: if you took the MCC QE Part 1, you passed it, you cannot retake it. If you failed the exam, you can retake it. But if you took it and you were not satisfied by the result or the score, you cannot retake it. And this calls for taking the time to prep for the exam very well to ensure that you get good scores.
Charles, we have one of the attendees requesting to ask a question, and he's raising his hand. So since you are the host, can you please allow him to give him the chance to speak?
Absolutely, go ahead.
So it's Al-Walid.
Al-Walid, okay. And how do I, oh, I see here.
Okay.
I see. I don't. Oh, there is the attendees there.
Yes. So
go ahead, Walid.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for this great presentation. Your efforts are greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you for the Cultural Bureau as well. My question is, and the concern actually is, for me and other applicants who will take the exam in May this year and want to apply for next matching cycle, I want to ask about the deadline of submitting the results, because the results might not be available until July, August, maybe. So will this be an obstacle?
This is not an obstacle as long as there is a section in the visa application system that we have developed at Dalhousie, where you choose the program that you want to apply for, that asks basically specifically, do you have results? And then if no, do you have a proof that you are going to be taking this examination? And we may ask for an email or a document that proves that you are taking this examination at this particular time and that the results are coming. And so that is not an issue. However, if it gets very, very late into the year and you are being considered and you have moved, let's say, to the short list list and you still do not have your results, it may be detrimental, or it may affect the decision from the program on whether or not you are, because after all, it is one of the requirements for being licensed, and we do need to have that result before we accept you into the program.
And to add to that, Charles, with regards to our application, because our application will be the first step, as you know.
Yes.
So when the applicants submit the application on our portal, the MAS portal, and at the time of submitting that application, if they haven't yet taken the QE Part 1 exam, what we need for that designated slot that you need to upload the copy of the results there or the scores, we need you to upload a copy of your receipt, the confirmation email that you have received from the website of the MCC, the Medical Council of Canada, confirming that you are registered for the exam. And this should be sufficient at the time of submitting the application. It's a temporary substitute for the result. Like Charles said, later on, we would still want to see a copy of your scores, which you can email to us later or upload again on the MES system. So this confirmation slip that you will receive from the MCC confirming that you are registered, it will get merged along with the other application documents, and Charles would be able to see that on your application.
Thank you, Gada, for clarifying that. Yes, that's the receipt I'm talking about.
Thank you so much. The question is, you mentioned the results are, if the results are not available for too late. So
yes.
What's too late?
We're talking.
Is it September, October?
No. We're talking about very, very late into it. I would say if you go into the new year and you still do not have the results. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem.
And Dr. Al-Walid, thank you for the question. And it's a very important point. I just want to point out that the exam itself is administered 5 times every year across 80 countries across the world. So the time frame is meticulously set by the Medical Council of Canada. Every exam, the results will come out of it after like 4 to 6 weeks after you take the exam. So there is no possibility for the results to be later than this duration of time that the MCC has indicated on their website. So you don't have to worry. I mean, if you take the exam in May, you should be able to receive the results in July, which will be still before the deadline.
Yes.
So that should be fine. Yeah. Thank you
Thank
again.
you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you. We had another question, a live question, but I didn't know if, yes. Mohammed.
Thank you all.
Abdul Majid, thank you. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, I would like to thank you all for this great presentation. My only question here, is there any opportunities in taking a clinical elective before shortlisted, let's say in May, June, or July?
It is rare. It is rare, Mohammed, because of the fact that it's a capacity issue. We are a smaller center, and we have to also make priority and prioritize the current trainees that are over here. And sometimes, in larger centers, yes, we have a lot of room, but in smaller centers such as Dalhousie, training positions and capacity in those programs can get filled up quite a bit. And so oftentimes it may not be possible. I'm not saying that it isn't possible. And so that is where you contact me, and I can communicate with the program and to see whether or not that they do have room. But that is our situation here. It's why we cannot always accommodate non-electives that are outside of the application cycle.
Yeah, and I may add to this that across Canada, due to COVID, electives have been suspended due to capacity issue and the pressure that's on the healthcare workers in the hospitals. So it is the case across Canada. I believe Quebec is just opening up very recently for electives, but for the last 2 years, electives have been suspended as well. So it is the case across Canada.
Ahmed Al-Hadi, please go ahead.
For the last 2 years, electives have been suspended as well.
Pulmonology in Dalhousie University.
Sorry?
In pulmonology, Dalhousie University.
Could I intervene there? Could it?
Go ahead.
We just in fairness to the people who have written their questions ahead of time, we're not going to answer questions today about specific programs. If you could wait until the website is updated, we'll try and make sure that that's complete. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I just think it's not fair to all the other people who've asked about all the other programs.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Could I just clarify some general things? So somebody asked about pre-assessment, that if an elective is the same as the pre-entry assessment period, like they have in Ontario and Quebec. It is not. So DAL does not have a PEEP at the moment. The at the moment part is important. There have been discussions about that, but at present we don't have that. And then the other one I wanted to address was about couples. So we don't have a couples match as such for visa trainees, but as I hope you've noticed through the presentation and the discussions, Charles is extremely hands-on with the visa applications. And if you're part of a couple, then please disclose that in the application. And certainly we understand the importance of keeping families together. It ultimately still needs to be two different program decisions. Both programs have to be comfortable with both individuals, but knowing that both individuals are part of a couple, it is frankly both attractive to the university and potentially better for the candidate to have 2-for-1 sort of situation. So I'm sure Charles can do his best to see what can be facilitated in such a situation. So please do just let us know.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll continue on with the live questions here. Mohammed.
Sure.
Mohammed Al-Sobi.
Dr. Mohammed, please unmute yourself and please go ahead and ask your question. Dr. Mohammed Subai.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I would like to thank everybody here. Excuse me, my questions is the grade. I need specific grade or just I pass to accept the residency?
Okay.
For the QE1?
Yeah.
The QE1 is it's a very unique thing. It's a very unique examination because, and to explain to everyone why it is an important aspect, is that you all come from different universities, and all the universities have different grading scales and so forth. So the QE1 allows us to objectively be able to take a look across the board at how well that you do on the same examination that everybody else has. It's not to say that it's the be all and end all of the evaluation, but you can make a large, assumption that programs do look upon what areas you excel in the QE1, especially when it's focused in your area, as being something that they account for your application. So that is a question. But for the minimum requirement, it's a pass in that particular examination.
Dr. Warren, if you don't mind, if you can elaborate a little bit on a couple of questions I see here about the difference between a Royal College accredited subspecialty programs and the general fellowship program. What's the difference in scope and focus there? Thank you.
Yes, so Royal College subspecialty programs are generally 2 or 3 years. They're the ologies. That's primarily what they involve, that follow medicine and pediatrics, but also include things like child and adolescent psychiatry, geriatric psychiatry, forensic psychiatry, which we don't actually have, but that kind of thing. So those are accredited by the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada, and trainees in them are called by the Royal College residents. They're subspecialty residents as opposed to direct entry program residents, but they're still residents. And as such, they're residency programs, and they have kind of a set of must-haves for curriculum, assessment, and accreditation. In addition to those kinds of training programs, which are sometimes referred to as fellowships in common language, we also have clinical fellowships, and those would be things like foot and ankle surgery, or pediatric orthopedics, or emergency preparedness, or various different ones. So those are clinical fellowships that have various degrees of pre-specified curriculum associated with them. So for example, our otology fellowship is accredited by the American Council on Graduate Medical Education. It's quite rigorous. There are a number of specific requirements, whereas some of the other ones, like a knee fellowship or a breast fellowship, are more clinically based and experiential in nature. So it really depends on what you're looking for, and also the opportunities to use or leverage your credential, the credential that you get at the end, are different. When you do a clinical fellowship registered at Dalhousie, you'll get a certificate from Dalhousie that said you did clinical training in this discipline from Dalhousie. When you do a subspecialty residency fellowship, inverted commas, then you'll be eligible if you did the core discipline training in Canada, like if you did gastroenterology after doing internal medicine in Canada, you're eligible to get an FRCPC in both internal medicine and gastroenterology. If you did internal medicine in Saudi Arabia and came to Canada for gastroenterology training, then you're eligible for the SEEP program,
Subspecialty Examination Affiliate Program.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's the worst every time. It's the worst acronym. I don't know about you, Andrew, but it's the worst acronym.
So it means you can sit the exam and get the certificate, but you don't get an FRCPC. So the credentials are different.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Another question for the benefit of the upcoming or prospective future trainees at Dalhousie. We know that the health facilities in terms of the affiliate hospitals, they span over 3 provinces, right? New Brunswick, PAI, and Nova Scotia. So there will be an element of travel for those, trainees working in those multiple hospitals there. Can you please maybe clarify a little bit how this is coordinated as part of the schedule for those upcoming trainees?
Oh, go ahead,
Yes, for sure. So all of our, or almost all of our programs have well, let me back up a little bit. So residents in our programs are all treated the same way. Doesn't matter whether you're a visa trainee or a graduate of a Canadian medical school. Everybody has the same opportunities the same rights, the same responsibilities, and the same core training program. Because Dalhousie is the medical school of the Maritimes, and as you say, we have a mandate to support care to support education around healthcare, in fact, in all three provinces, then our residents rotate through all three provinces. Our requirement for all programs is 10% of the training time for each trainee should be spent outside of Halifax. So that equates to about one block per year. A little bit more than that, but that's what we kind of target, one block or just over. And so when residents go outside of Halifax, they would go, for example, one of our biggest satellite centers is St. John, New Brunswick. And there they are provided with an apartment and housing for them and their family, if their family goes with them. But they are working and learning in a different hospital in a different province. So that's how that all works. And it's kind of part of our training model. So I would say, that affords lots of opportunities to see care given and delivered in multiple different settings, which is a huge advantage from a medical education perspective. However, if that is not for you, then we are not for you, because the opportunity to not do that if you're a resident in our program will be very low.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. I don't know if you notice any other questions, Charles, there that maybe you can pick up on. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go to Nadine Al-Madani. Please go ahead. Hello, Dr. Nadine.
Hi, thank you so much for your time and for the presentation. I just wanted to ask a little more about the elective.
Yes.
So at what point would we be told about the elective?
So what program are you interested in? Is it
General,
a surgery?
yeah.
Sorry?
General surgery?
General surgery. Okay. So the general timeline for this would be that you would get your application into Mass as quickly as possible. And then when we go to the program, we will send your electronic application after you have uploaded your documents to our system to the program, and they will review. Generally speaking, we inform the potential applicants late summer so that they can come in so that the applicants can come in the fall and do a month-long elective in that case, so that we have enough time for you to get a temporary resident visa if that is needed, as well as all of the paperwork for licensing and malpractice insurance for your safe entry into Canada. And once that is done, then the review committee, after they have evaluated all of the potential electives that have come in, will select their decision, and then we usually send the letter of offer, generally sometime in a late part of the year or early part of the following year.
Thank you so much. I know this is a little bit maybe specific, but just in case, so I think most people here, including myself, if we're not applying to residency in Saudi as well, they're already in residency. So if I'm applying to Saudi this year, that means I would be theoretically starting in October. So if, let's just say, I submit my application straight away, like once the portal opens in like late March, and I submit all the papers to you as well. Would it be possible at all to do my elective earlier than October?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it depends. In fact, the earlier the better. And we try to actually be able to get, for those of you who, and Gada has actually been telling you to all, if you get your application in early, we actually try and get all of the applications in before the summer break, because that's when a lot of the program directors take a summer vacation, and there is less time to actually be able to review in the latter part of the summer. So we try and do it before the summer so that we can actually plan for your elective in the fall. That gives you enough time in order to be able to do that. In your case, Nadine, some programs may not, and I'm not saying that that general surgery will, but some programs may not want to have people come in over the summer because of the fact that there's so few people around in the hospital in the summer for proper evaluation and training. And so they want to have you here at one of their in their busiest times, which is sort of after August. But you know, accommodations can be made, you know, on a case-by-case situation.
Yeah, Charles, thank you so much. And if you allow me to also add that in the case, in your case, Dr. Al-Madani, it's important for you. I mean, we receive all the documents in mass, but the bulk of the communication is done between you and us through email. So do mention, shoot out an email to the person designated. In this case would be my colleague Hassan, who will be looking after your file. Indicate in an email to him that you prefer for the elective for Dalhousie University in particular to take place during a specific period of time, and Hassan will immediately prompt Charles to that, and between the two of them they will figure out the best plan for you. But it is important for you because for us we look at you equally, all the applicants, and sometimes the situation of one applicant is different from the other. So it's important for us to be alerted to your particular situation with regards to the overlap between the Saudi program start date and also your availability for the elective here in Canada. So let us know in the email, and we'll do our part in facilitating that for you in close coordination with Charles.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Abdullah Al-Taibi.
You're welcome.
Yes, good evening. Thank you guys so much for the wonderful presentation, including the Bureau. Just one question. Regarding the non-Royal College Fellowship, what exams are specifically required? Thank you.
So thank you very much for your question. And that's a very good question for those people who are doing clinical fellowships. And again, we stress it's clinical fellowships, not subspecialty fellowships. In a clinical fellowship, the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Nova Scotia have deemed to have the license as a defined license, which means that for those people who are coming in at a PGY 6 level or higher from Saudi direct with no core or subspecialty training in Canada, a defined license is what you apply for, and there are no needs for the EE or QE1 exam for that particular license.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is also, Dr. Abdullah, this is the case with other medical schools. We have waived this requirement for our trainees from years ago. So if you're applying for a clinical fellowship that's non-Royal College accredited, you don't need the exam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Abdullah Kabani.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have a quick question, and it's a very direct question, please, if you would allow me. Regarding the elective, you mentioned that for the surgical specialties that we have to apply for an elective in Canada prior to the application of any surgical residency in Dalhousie. My question is about the anesthesiology residency programs. Should we apply for an elective prior to our application to the anesthesiology program Dalhousie? And whether if someone took a 6-month rotation in a hospital in Saudi Arabia that has a North American standard, and most of the, I would say, the majority, more than 95% of the physician who's working there graduated from the Canadian schools. So if he worked with them for 6 months prior to his application to the Canadian residency program, can this take the place of applying an elective to Canada, and specifically in anesthesiology? Because I didn't know what do you count anesthesiology, whether it's surgical, medical. I think it's between them, so I didn't know. And thank you so much.
Abdullah, we cannot specifically mention, tell you exactly what the program, because it is by program by program. I can what I can tell you is that when you do apply, we and find out whether the programs are available, that an elective will be needed at that particular given time. I cannot tell you. Sometimes it is not possible for an elective to happen because of rules or timing or something, and so it happens on a case-by-case situation. So all I can tell you is that if you apply through the Saudi Bureau and then it is a program that is available, then we will allow you to, we will be able to answer you when that time comes. Again, a lot of the programs, as I mentioned in the presentation, have not confirmed whether or not that they are available because it's still so very, very early, and we do start very early. And we'll be able to tell you once the application system opens.
Thank you so much.
I would add to that also, Dr. Abdullah, that most residency programs do not require electives. There are very specific programs at McGill University, for example, Queen's University, Dalhousie University in particular, they require that elective because they want that exposure. They want this face-to-face opportunity with the applicant. They can work with the team and be assessed as part of a longer period, if I may call it so. But most of the other residency programs, they do not require the elective. I know that many applicants in the past have opted to still sign up for an elective, come to Canada here. I just want to clarify that doing an elective is not a guarantee of an offer, by the way. It is exposure. It's something that you can add to your CV, that you spend some time, like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the duration might be with the program, but it's not a guarantee that you will be offered a position with that program. It is, it is recommended. It's an extra exposure, but the required electives for specific programs, we know about them and we tell you ahead of time, or the PGME office will advise you in the course of the application process if it is a mandatory requirement for you to be finally selected for the program.
So
Thank you so much, Mr. Adam.
And I also must add too that the elective experience not only gives the program a very accurate and objective exposure to you under a clinical setting, but as well you yourself to have the experience to be here in Canada. Oftentimes they happen when the weather starts getting colder. Many of you may not have experienced being in an extended period of time in the cold, or a Nova Scotia life. It is different than being in sort of the largest cities that you probably have visited, before. And so this not only gives you a sense of what kind of hospital or what type of training and the knowledge that you have there, but also the lifestyle and how you're going to be spending the next 4 to 8 years of your life.
That's correct. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Omar Al Nafel.
Thank you so much.
Please go ahead. Omar Al Nafel. Please go ahead.
Yes, how are you?
Hello.
Good morning, everyone.
Omar.
Yes,
How are
hello,
you?
good morning. Thank you for your presentation. My question, I actually request for 1 year fellowship cardiovascular ICU. And he asked me to come for elective for 1 month, the same question. So only I am intensivist in Saudi Arabia. And now COVID not allow even to leave except if I have final acceptance. So my question, sometimes the sponsor not allowed to go to for elective. Only if you have acceptance, you can go Canada for 1 year and back again to Saudi Arabia. This is my question. In some situation, what I will do.
Yes, Dr. Omar, I'm familiar with your file. I've actually been in communication with you. If you can, we can talk about this, outside, but I don't think I would like to sort of address your question directly. So if you can just shoot me an email and perhaps we can be able to talk on video chat on yours, because I am very, very familiar with your file. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Have there been any other, I think we've gone through all of the live questions so far. Has anybody needed to, has anybody addressed anything on the chat here?
I'm just going over some of the questions in the Q&A in the chat box. I see Shane also answered some. Thank you so much for that, Shane. I think there is repetition in some of the questions in terms of asking about specific programs, how many positions, the QE, the elective, accredited programs versus general clinical fellowships there, which I think we've covered today. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling down the
I see one here. Can the USMLE be used instead of the QE? One, that is correct, as long as you have the USMLE 1, 2, and 3. That can be used in lieu of the QE1 or the EE for the postgraduate medical education license.
See, this is news to us, Charles, because over the years, we know that McGill is the only medical school that accepts the USMLE Part 1 and Part 2 in lieu of the QE exam. So it's nice that you also accept that. So
Yes,
we'll make sure to include that in the update coming up.
Okay, thank you.
To clarify, it's the college that needs the exam, not the university.
Yes.
So the College of Physicians and Surgeons.
Yeah, but you know, we engaged in discussions before with the PGME offices, and they all insisted it's a Canadian exam or nothing else. So it has been only consistently only McGill that would accept, even for us to or the applicants to upload a copy of the USMLE, and it was Part 1, Part 2. So in your case, it's all 3 parts, right?
All 3 parts. That's correct.
Okay. All right.
And
That's good to know.
I see a question here that has been asked more than one time about how do the applicants know if there are some missing documents from their application. So your application goes through 2 stages. So the first stage starts with us with the medical application system. Our admissions team is going to review your application and highlight if there is any document missing. We will communicate with you. Once your application is complete, we will send it to the relevant universities, in this case, Dal University, and then it's the PGME office turn, where they will go over your application, and they will communicate you, or the program will communicate you if there are any additional documents they require in your particular case.
Yeah, another issue I would like to add here, it might sound a bit trivial, but it is very important, and we've had issues with it over the past couple of years. We did bring this up also in the previous virtual presentation that done with UFT, which was done last week. It is important for you to maintain the communication using one email address, please. So the email address that will be indicated on your CV should be the same email address that you will enter into our MES system and the Dalhousie online portal as well. This way, it's easier for us to find you, locate you, communicate with you. Believe it or not, we have every year consistently, we have multiples and you know, of the same doctor with the same first name and last name as well. So it is important for us to maintain that clarity in terms of communication. So please use only one email address across the whole process. Thank you.
And to add to Gada's thing, to also check your junk mail, especially if you have a Saudi .ca address. Many of our Canadian email addresses tend to go into the junk mail, and oftentimes communication and very pertinent information gets missed, and people have lost opportunities because of that. So please check your junk mail too.
Yes, thank you.
Yara Fatani, please go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank
Hello.
you for your... Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. Go ahead.
I had just a question about the exams. I know you guys talked about it before, but I have my exam, inshallah, in May. But due to some circumstances, I will reschedule it in August. So I just wanted to make sure that if I apply and the exam is just late, that will not affect my application, anything, right?
That does not affect your application, as I mentioned before, as long as you upload your booking date and to confirm that you are taking the application will be forwarded to the program. They will consider the time in which you actually will be taking the examination based on when their offer date must be, but that should be okay. I'm not saying that it should be later or anything of that sort. but we're all just encouraging that everyone get their the results as soon as they can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Abdurrahman Al-Ghamdi.
Yes,
Charles.
I'm just doing that right now. Abdul Rahman Al-Hamdi. Hello.
Hi, thank you for your time. So what I understood is that the only way to get an elective is by being shortlisted. Can't I apply for an elective before applying for residency?
Yes, you can, but as I mentioned, capacity can be very tight. We're not a big institution, and we have to make priority the current trainees to ensure that they have the proper training and the capacity for us to be able to train. So that's subject to availability, and you can contact me directly and find out whether or not it is available. But we want to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to be able to come under this particular system, and that's why there is a certain time period in which we do it. But there can be cases because of a time that we try and accommodate you. You know, the goal for everyone, and this is to everyone to mention, we're not trying to shut you out or anything. We want you to come to Dalhousie, and we're trying our very best to be able to accommodate you and match you with the best program possible, and to also find the best qualified candidates to us. So we're trying our very, very best in order to do that. But being in a smaller center, we can't take all of you, and that's the one thing that you have. And we know that we're also not the only university that you are considering across Canada, but we really do want you to consider us, and if we can be able to accommodate you, we will do our very, very best to do so.
A quick question to Dr. Warren in terms of timeframes for start dates for residency, subspecialty, and fellowships. If you can please say something about this for the benefit of the participants today.
Sure. Yeah. So we, in general, we like our residents to start at the beginning of the academic year. So July to July is the Canadian academic July to June, I guess, is the Canadian academic year. So July 1st is when residencies start, and we work very hard to get people in accredited residencies to start then, because sometimes there are introductory sessions like boot camps or whatever that happen for all the residents in the program at a particular time, and that it really isn't possible to get the same experience and exposure if you miss that. That said, life happens, and you know, things are not always perfect, and so we do allow people to start late. If your start date, though, cannot be until the new calendar year, so in other words, if you're delayed more than 6 months, we will not always continue your offer. We may defer your offer to offer it for the next date, or the next year, I should say, or we may withdraw your offer and invite you to reapply. So if you're delayed more than 6 months into the new year, then that may happen. But in general, we try to be flexible, understanding that, again, life happens. For clinical fellowships, it's very different. I think people, you know, seem to start whenever. The academic year is ideally the same, but with people being generally a bit more senior and further along in their training or career by the time they're doing those, it's a little bit more all over the place. Charles can give you the details, but
I just wanted to also add to Andrew's comment too, that starting out of sync also can place challenges on your training and also on the dates of which you write to your Royal College exams, and we all want you to sort of be on the same level playing field as all your other colleagues in training. And if you're 2 or 3 months off cycle, it can be challenging for you to just always be catching up, no matter where you are in your training, just because you started late. So just to offer a little bit of consideration on that too as well.
Thanks, Charles. That is an important thing that I should have mentioned, is that you can start late, but that of course does mean you're going to finish late too. It's not that the time is just waived. We've had that sometimes not fully understood.
Yeah. No, thank you for clarifying that. Now, the audience we invited today to join this virtual session includes applicants from Saudi Arabia or from out of Canada, as well as applicants from within Canada who are currently training here at different medical schools in Canada. And I know for those who are training at Dalhousie in particular, if they wish to apply for a second program after the current one they are enrolled at, it might seem like a shortcut. They have access to the back door and they can secure that position. I just want to stress that the process is the same though. They would still have to submit an application on our MAS portal. We have two versions. We have one version of the MAS catering for the in-Canada trainees, as well as the one we have for out-of-Canada trainees coming from Saudi Arabia or any other country, wherever there might be. So it is important that we stress for every applicant, whether they're current trainees or people from outside Canada, to still submit an application en masse, notify us of their interest, especially the ones in Canada, because if we don't get this indication from their side, we would assume that they're happy with the program they're in, they're leaving Canada at the end of it, and they have no intention or no plan to extend beyond that duration that's related to that particular training. And as you all know, the process is quite lengthy. We are the facilitator, not just between you and the medical schools, but also between you and your own sponsors in Saudi Arabia. We have over 60 government agencies that we deal with in Saudi Arabia, and they are the actual sponsors. They're the ones who cut the check. We just deliver it. So it is very important for you to notify us once you get the offer. Then the due procedure will have to take place on Safir requesting that approval for that extension. So I just wanted to make this point clear for the benefit of everybody who's with us today.
And to be clear, thank you very much, Gada. That is a very, very good explanation. And administratively, the Postgraduate Medical Education Office treats, if you're moving to another program, a totally different application. We ask you to reapply again with new forms. Your file actually, literally has a brand new section to start. You just don't continue, and that we need to get all of the paperwork and everything communicated back from the Saudi Bureau to continue your training here if you are moving to a different program. Those are very, very important too in those core programs such as pediatrics and internal medicine, where we initially accept you in a 4-year program, but you may want to move this into a subspecialty in year 3. We also need to know that you are actually ending your core training program a year early and continuing on to another program, whether it be here at Dalhousie or whether it be in another institution. That separation of administrative paperwork allows us to be able to define when you are going to be ending your training. So that's very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we have a bit more time, but I think we have touched upon so many questions so far. And I apologize for the participants who asked the questions. And, we saw that there was some sort of repetition there, or the answer will be, put together for you in the update that we promised to put on the website very soon. We're working on it actually now. The whole team is working on it. And we would like to thank all of you for taking part in today's session. We would like to thank Dr. Warren and the team at Dalhousie for this excellent presentation and very engaging discussion for the Q&A portion. We look forward to launching the new admission cycle as of March 15. Our new portal link will be posted on the website. All applicants for the cycle of 2023 would be able to access it and upload their documents, and we'll get the ball rolling from that point on. Again, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for this session. It is recorded and it's available on YouTube for those doctors, prospective applicants who had not had the chance to join us today. And we will follow up also with the Q&A questions that we haven't been able to answer today. We'll also post like a file after we're done with all the presentations. I just want to remind everybody that this is a series of PGME presentations. We started with the University of Toronto. We have Dalhousie today, and we have UBC coming up this Friday. So please make an effort to join us for the upcoming sessions as well. And at the end of all 5 sessions with the PGME offices, we'll make sure that we put a consolidated file for the Q&A questions for the benefit of those who missed it or anybody who would like to go back for it for reference. So thanks again, and we look forward to connecting with you again this Friday. Thanks again, Dr. Warren, Charles, and Shane, for taking the time to be with us today.
Shukran, thank you so very much, and Gara, for preparing and doing that. Andrew?
No, I was just saying thanks for the opportunity. It's been great to see you all, and we look forward to welcoming at least some of you at Dalhousie next year. Okay, have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye-bye.